Have you ever had a boss whose mood could just completely change the vibe of the entire office? One day everything's great, the next, everyone's walking on eggshells. Well, that's not just a feeling you're having, it's a fundamental reality of leadership. Today, we're going to dive into this powerful and often invisible force of a leader's emotions and see how they really do drive performance. So let's kick things off with a story. Picture this, a room full of 200 journalists at the BBC. An executive walks in to tell them that their entire division is being shut down. Heavy stuff, right? But instead of any kind of empathy, he opens by praising how well rival operations are doing and then starts bragging about a trip to Cannes. I mean, the news itself was bad enough, but his delivery? Wow, it was a masterclass in what not to do. And this is where it gets really interesting, when you see the contrast. That first leader, he created what we call dissonance, just a total emotional disconnect. He was so focused on himself that people got furious, so angry he almost needed a security escort to get out of there. But then, the very next day, a different executive came in, and he created resonance, a kind of synchronicity. He spoke from the heart, he talked about their shared passion for journalism, he connected with them on a human level. The news was exactly the same, but the emotional impact, it was night and day. So, why did that second approach work so well? I mean, it's not magic, it's neuroscience. See, a leader's emotions create an echo that reverberates through the entire organization because our feelings are literally contagious. But what makes them so powerful? Why does the leader's mood have this huge outsized effect on every single person around them? Well, the answer is actually baked into the design of our brains. The reason for this is absolutely fascinating. Scientists call it our open-loop limbic system. Think of it this way. Your circulatory system, right? That's a closed loop. It regulates itself. But your emotional system is an open loop. It's designed to be influenced by others. We are literally hardwired to pick up emotional signals, especially from a leader, and those signals can change our very physiology. It's like a direct brain-to-brain link that completely bypasses our rational thought. Okay, so if a leader's emotions are always being broadcast, how can they control the signal they're sending out? Well, this brings us to the leader's toolkit, a set of practical styles that can create either that positive resonance we want or that destructive dissonance we definitely don't. So researchers have basically identified 6 distinct leadership styles. 4 of them are great, they naturally build resonance and a positive emotional climate. The other 2, well, you have to use them with caution. They can be useful in very specific moments, like a crisis, but if you overuse them, they create dissonance fast. It's kind of like a golf bag. A great leader knows exactly which club to pull out for which shot. So let's quickly look at those 4 resonance styles. You've got the visionary leader, who gets everyone excited about a shared dream. Then there's the coaching style, which is all about connecting a person's individual goals to the company's mission. The affiliative leader is the glue. They build harmony and connect people to each other. And finally, the democratic style gets buy-in by making sure everyone's voice is heard. The best leaders, they don't just stick to one, they switch between these styles all the time. Now, I know this might all sound a bit soft, feelings and harmony, but the impact is incredibly concrete. Creating a resonant, positive climate isn't just a nice-to-have thing, it's a direct driver of business results, and the data on this is stunningly clear. Research has actually quantified this direct link between how employees feel and how a company performs. And it turns out that for every single 1% improvement in the service climate, that's the overall feel of the workplace, there's a 2% increase in revenue. Let that sink in for a second. The crucial point here is that a better climate doesn't just make for happier employees. It leads directly to a healthier bottom line. This is the hard data behind the so-called soft skills. And who's responsible for that climate? You guessed it, the leader. Research shows a staggering number. Somewhere between 50 and 70% of how employees see their workplace is a direct result of their leader's words and actions. More than anyone or anything else, the boss creates the conditions for people to do their best work. Simple as that. So yeah, this puts a huge responsibility on the leader's shoulders, but it's also an incredible opportunity. Becoming a resonant leader isn't about faking it till you make it. It's a real journey of self-discovery and intentional change. So the big question becomes, how do you actually do it, right? If you want to become a more effective, emotionally intelligent leader, where do you even start? Well, luckily, there's a clear, structured process for this. The path forward is this process called self-directed learning. It's basically a 3-step cycle. First, you envision your ideal self, who you truly want to be. Second, you assess your real self, who you are right now, and you gotta be brutally honest about your strengths and your gaps. And third, you create a learning plan to bridge that gap. It's a continuous loop of reflection and action. You know, this quote from the business philosopher Charles Handy just perfectly captures the challenge of that first step. So many of us get caught up trying to be someone else, right? Climbing ladders that other people have put in front of us. But real, lasting motivation comes from figuring out the person you genuinely want to be. And that brings us to a really crucial distinction: your ideal self versus your ought self. Your ideal self is rooted in your own dreams, your values. That's the source of your passion and your motivation. Your ought self, though, that's built on what other people expect of you, your parents, your boss, society. And trying to live up to that can feel, well, it can feel like being trapped in what the sociologist Max Weber once called an iron cage. So once you have a clear vision of your ideal self, you need to get real about where you are right now. And the biggest barrier here is something called the CEO disease. It's this weird phenomenon where the higher you climb, the less honest feedback you get. People are afraid to tell you the bad news, and that creates this information vacuum that prevents you from seeing yourself clearly. Overcoming this is absolutely critical for growth. Ultimately, it all comes back to this one idea. As a leader, your emotional state is never, ever just a private matter. It echoes through your team, through your entire organization, shaping the climate and driving the results. So the question I want to leave you with is this: if your leadership creates an echo, what will people hear? Resonance or dissonance?